All right, I'm going to talk about my latest legal conundrum, right? This has been going on since 2015. I've been very vocal about this, part of the targeting program, what have you. I'm not saying this is specifically that, but it's interesting. So I was driving um, to Massachusetts through a town. I'm going to leave out the specifics, because I don't want to implicate anyone or give any details that just could get into anyone's personal life in this regard, in this matter anyway. But I'm going to tell the situation exactly as it happened and what the proposed resolution outcome is, essentially is happening. Because I've already had my second appearance at the Superior Court that I went to in Connecticut. But anyway, this is what happened. I was driving through this town and I ran a red light. I wasn't speeding, but I ran the red light. And a car, that was about to pull out, laid on the horn, pulled out behind me, and laid on the horn about to the next light. And she pulled to the left lane. I was turning right. But as she got up to me, I threw a lighter at her car. And that prompted her to continue laying on the horn and follow me to turn right. And so, but the light to light was only maybe, I don't know, a few hundred feet, I guess. So the initial horn honking was like 1,000 feet probably, laying on the horn, and then I threw the lighter at that light, and then she follows me to the next light, which is a few hundred feet maybe, but laying on the horn. But that light's red, so I'm sitting there, and my son's sleeping in the back, and she's just laying on the horn, so I run that red light too, just to get away from the noise. I don't have anything else to throw at her, or that I'm gonna throw at her or whatever. But so in the police report, right, she calls the police, and she claims that she tried to get me to pull over, and that wasn't the case because she just laid on the horn. I was stopped at the light. I was already pulled over. If you want to talk to me, come talk to me. If you're mad at that I threw something at your car, we can have a conversation about, why you're the red light police. So on the way back to Connecticut, my mother was in the car too. I asked my mom if I could stop and pick up the lighter at the intersection. I figured I could see it and pick it up, and I did. And the police officer who had been contacted by the other party was investigating the report, and sure enough, we ran into each other at the intersection, and I reluctantly had a conversation with her, and ended up telling her, all the information and more, which is in the police report, right? So in the police report, she said I was rambling about directed energy weapons and I don't know what else, but it's in the report. And the state's attorney, right? I'm at a superior court in Connecticut. They can read all this, and nobody's brought any of that up, right? Karen Melton Stewart, whistleblower from the NSA, had a private investigative report done implicating Lockheed Martin. She's now incapacitated. No one's looking into that. Dr. Robert Duncan from the CIA gave talks about the weapons he helped develop with the CIA from Harvard, from Connecticut. And he's dead now in the last year, and no one's looking into these things. But we know, as far as the nanotech and the technology and healthcare 4.0 and the global standardization of biodigital convergence and everything else that we can look at on paper, the technology's clearly there, and this is like the biggest cover-up ever, and we can see why, because it has to do with DNA and everything else. But I am sidetracking, right? Just like I did with that police officer. Anyway, she files the summons, right? Because now I have to appear. Sorry, it's kind of gross. Because I told her, the whole story, and I threw the lighter, and she was honking at me and whatnot. And that's all in the report too. But it's a crime to follow someone and honk your horn, and she kind of instigated me. So, like, not that this is exactly the same, but if I followed you around the block and I poked you in the shoulder for a block or two, and you turned around and you punched me in the face, I kind of asked for that, So she followed me for a block and honking her horn, and that's a crime in Connecticut. So I filed my own police report, and the police did nothing. They didn't serve her a summons. Now, this person has a write-up on the United Methodist page in that town, right? And I don't know. I thought that was interesting. The other thing I found about this person is that they complained at a town hall meeting about kids making noise late at night on either maybe a tennis court or a park or I don't know, a field or something, but she was complaining about kids making noise at night. But she's following someone around town honking the horn, laying on the horn. So again, like I said, I filed my own police report. They did nothing. They didn't act. I cited whatever Connecticut statutes, codes, as far as the horn honking. And then, in my opinion, she misled the police officer by saying that she tried to have me pull over. Clearly, I was already stopped. If she wanted to communicate with me, she could have gotten out of the car and talked to me. I was stopped at a red light, but she was just honking the horn. So, I cited a few things, and the police didn't hold her accountable, and I said that to the state's attorney, and today at the Superior Court, and or not today, sorry, yesterday, and their response was I do a anger management class, and have a certificate. It was ambiguous, right? So I asked, one class, how many classes, what, just something, as long as I show a certificate that I completed the thing. Anyway, that's what happened. But, this isn't the first time in the last 10 years that I've been prosecuted to the full extent of the law while whatever I'm complaining about at the time isn't being looked into, right? The law just kind of goes one way when it comes to me. And I have several examples that we can look at.